Hello magical hands and welcome to the channel. As you can tell, this is the result of the tutorial we are about to make. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like and share, and let's get into it proper. For the materials, this Ankara print is going to be my main fabric and I'll be using little out of it. Next, I'll be using a gum stay and I'll be using the softest gum stay. Also, I have my crinoline and I have 2 yards of this, which was almost enough. And of course, you will need your boning. Make sure to get the plastic boning, not the sewable boning or the Regiline boning. So I opened up my fabric and I folded it as seen. And first thing I'm going to do is to mark the length. You're going to mark the length on the fold because usually the length is always big. I'm going to be using 40 inches for the length. So that means I'll have to mark 20 inches on a fold. Okay, so by the time I open this up, I'll have my 40 inches. After marking that, the next thing will be for me to mark the wideness of this, and I'll be using 8 inches for the wideness. So it's left for you to determine the length and the width of yours. If you are okay with the result I have, you can actually go ahead and use my measurements. So I'll just take my time and make sure that I have 8 inches across all points. Now that I've chalked that down, I'll just go ahead with my ruler and make a very straight line across it. So we can go ahead and start cutting it out. This is literally the main measurements that you will need. So after cutting this out, we'll have to cut an exact piece of it again because we'll need the main fabric and we'll need the lining piece. And it's very important for you to use the same fabric you're using for your main fabric as the lining. So we have both the lining and the main fabric. Next, I'll want to shape this to a better shape. I'll place this on each other and I'll fold it into 2 again. So I'll take my tape and measure out what I have on that folded side, which I have 4 inches. If I open it up, I'll have 8 inches. And then on the other side, I'll mark 2.5 inches. Now I'm going to find the midpoint of the length. Remember, the length we marked on fold was 20 inches. So the midpoint will be 10 inches. Right from that 10 inches, I can start curving in to meet the 2.5 inch at the base. So just take your time and cut this very neatly. Make sure that it is not too sharp at that 10 inches point. Make sure that it is nicely curved in. You can do any design you want to do with yours. It's left for you to be creative about it. But if you want the result I got, then follow what you see in the tutorial. Next, you are going to iron both your pieces very well. Make sure it is straight, both the lining and the main fabric. Make sure to give this a very good press. And I'm going to start placing my gum stay on it, which is the soft gum stay like I told you guys. Take your time and place this gum stay very neat and nice. I'll flip this over and then I'll start trimming out the excess gum stay that we have around it. Just make sure you trim it nice and clean. Make sure to repeat the same process to the other piece of fabric, whether it's your lining or your main fabric. Make sure to repeat the same process and then also iron from the fabric side as well. Afterwards, this is what they both look like after I have placed the gum stay and ironed this nicely. You can also use a paper stay instead of a gum stay. It is actually optional. Now I'll decide which side of this will be my main fabric and I'll just keep that piece aside. We are going to work on this one now. I'll take this piece to be my lining fabric. Now I'll go ahead with my marker and my tape and I'll start marking 1/2 inch around this just by the sides. Just mark 1/2 inch, take your time and then use your ruler to connect this 1/2 inch points together. This 1/2 inch that I'm marking is my sewing allowance, so it is very important for you to mark this out very visible enough, and that is why I'm using my marker. I'll also do the same thing to the opposite side. Mark 1/2 inch as well and rule a straight line across. Now I'll take out my crinoline and this is going to serve as my boning case. I'm going to start sewing this crinoline right on the line of that 1/2 inch. Okay, make sure it does not exceed that 1/2 inch that we mark because that 1/2 inch is going to be our sewing allowance and we want this to relax properly when we flip it over. While I'm sewing, you will see that I am also pulling this crinoline, but I am not pulling it too much, just pull a little bit. I know this would give this a bit of fold at the back, but you will understand better as we move on. So you can pull this but not too much and just take your time and sew this nicely. Also, you will see how these folds at the back, like I said earlier, just ignore it. So now we are going to sew up the second side of the quinoline, and while I'm sewing, I'm going to pull both the quinoline and the fabric together. That way everything relaxes properly and it's going to straighten that fold at first. We are going to repeat the same process to the opposite side as well. And this is what it looks like. So now you are going to take your boning and you're going to start inserting your boning in these boning cases that we have made using the quinoline. So just take your time and pull this in. After inserting the boning, make sure to take this to your sewing machine to close up the quinoline. That is the part where you inserted it so that it doesn't pull out. And you also know that these bonings are usually tied up in a round shape. So your boning is always round, and which means it needs ironing. In order to iron this properly, we are going to need water because the bonings are very stubborn and they will not respond except you use water on them. And if you have the pressing iron that already has the container for water in it, there will be no need to go use a manual method like me. So just make sure to sprinkle enough water around the boning area. This way the heat is going to make the boning respond to the iron and the boning is going to lay down flat. I want the boning to be very flat because I want to be able to control how the boning should be bent. I don't want it to be round. So take your time and iron this properly and you will see the difference after ironing. Now you can see the difference. You can see how straight and flat this is. This is what we wanted to get. So now I can go ahead and place my main fabric on this, and I'm going to now sew along that sewing allowance that we marked earlier. After sewing the both pieces together, I'm going to now flip this over to the right face. You don't have to worry about your boning. Your boning is still going to respect you because you're giving it the heat of its life. Now that we are done flipping this over, we are just going to give this a little bit of ironing because this has already squeezed up as we were trying to flip this over. So we've come close to the end of this tutorial. If you watched to this point and you've not subscribed, I'd like you to hit on the subscribe button, and if you turn out to like something new in this video, make sure to like. Also, if you don't like anything in this video, there's also a dislike button, but I know you'll not be using that. And don't forget to share because this will help you to recommend the channel to other people as well. So I went ahead to pleat or fold the ends and I just did a little stitch around that point, and this is the final result, guys. See you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.